There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. There you go.
Kash, thank you for being on the program. I didn't mean to give you an introduction like that, but boy, it seems like Fani carries all of her cash in a fanny pack. Totally normal. As a federal prosecutor, can you please do your best to slice and dice this case like you were working at Benihana?
Well, when I was a federal prosecutor and federal public defender, I carried my thousands of dollars in spare cash in my left shoe, and I carried the other $1,000 in spare cash in my jockstrap. I mean, what are these people who walks around with that? Even if you're not a government employee, who walks around with thousands of dollars in cash? Let's get past that. And I'm sorry to interrupt the news fest that is the continuation of this testimony. But, in all seriousness, as an officer of the court, your obligations to the cases you bring are without bias and without being a zealot. And you're supposed to not conceal information to the judge that could impact the prosecution you're bringing. That's not like a Kashism. That's the law. If you are betting the top prosecutor in the case and you are making hundreds of thousands of dollars collaterally through that relationship and going on the Love Boat with his mother and your sisters, all of which they pay for through the taxpayers who are paying your salary and paying for this prosecution, you not informing the judge is a violation of the canons of ethics and your duty as an officer of the court. It's a felony. If I had done anything like that, say Kash Patel was a special prosecutor prosecuting Joe Biden in the state of Delaware, and I hire a female attorney as my subordinate to run the prosecution, and then I pay her $600,000 and go on a fairy tale cruise with her around America and the world, what do you think the left-wing media would be doing to me? And more importantly, what do you think the judicial system would be doing to me? Now, I think this judge is on the right track, having watched this testimony yesterday. But what you saw from Fani, whatever, Willis yesterday was like a Perry Mason style. You almost don't get a witness like that when you're a defense attorney and you're like, is this really happening? She just comes bulldozing into the courtroom and she's like, oh, I want to testify. And I'm like, well, you're not supposed to be here yet. She doesn't care about the rules. She doesn't care about the rule of law. And the most offensive thing to me, maybe as a brown man, is how this woman waltzes into court and blames the world for her corrupt criminal activities and plays the race card because she thinks that we are prosecuting her criminality because she's a black woman. That is the most offensive thing I've ever heard. As a minority who served in government for Democrats and Republicans, as a minority who's been a public defender and a prosecutor, when you play that race card, you degrade our ability to perform our jobs and execute the law. You are no better than Al Sharpton when you say stupid, wildly offensive things like that. And there are so many more reasons why she should be disbarred, removed from the case, and the case tossed. I can't believe the judge had the patience he did with her.
I've never seen anything like it. There's so many follow-up questions here. I mean, this clip alone, if you can see the screen,
yeah.
This clip alone, what does this tell the judge? What does this tell the courtroom when you are manically and hysterically throwing papers around and screaming and yelling, again, like you're in total hysterics? And right after this clip, the judge goes, you need a timeout, lady. And he sends her to timeout.
Not only does he send her to timeout, he says, if you don't calm down, I'm going to strike your entire testimony. The lady who said, no, judge, I want to testify. And the good thing about having this on TV is because unlike most federal court proceedings, this is a state one, we'd only get to read in a transcript what happened. We're getting to see the tenor of her character as the judge and the defense and the attorneys in this courtroom are while they're questioning her. That goes to, in my opinion, the credibility of her testimony, or lack thereof, I should say. She's holding up federal pleadings and saying, this is all a lie, state pleadings and saying, this is all, what's a lie? That you hired someone who now you refuse to call your subordinate? That you hired someone and slept with someone during the prosecution of a case that was a political vendetta hack job? And that you continue to bed the guy who said black women's only job is to make me sandwiches? And now you're complaining about the relationship you brought to your doorstep and saying somehow that the printed information in the pleadings are a lie? What part of that is a lie? You made money. You lied to the world. You brought a prosecution based on your political vengeance. And now you're blaming people because you're a woman and you're black. It ain't going to fly.
We have been leaked a exclusive photo of Fani Willis and some of her potential. This potentially may be some for money laundering. We don't know. We're not sure. This is something we're verifying this right now. We have great.
It could be AI, but you never know.
We don't know. Kash, my question to you is, why would they pull her testimony this morning? I mean, we've obviously alluded to the fact that it was such a nightmare. They don't want to put her back on the stand. Are we correct?
Well, listen, remember, rewind the tape to when she bulldozed into the courtroom. The prosecutors that worked for her didn't want her to testify at all. Now we know why. And she basically went in there, and if you watch the proceedings just before the testimony happened, she literally looked at the judge and goes, no, we're waiving. I'm testifying. She just literally gave up the legal argument. So the reason the prosecutors, they're not stupid, who don't want her in the courtroom is because she is a train wreck for this prosecution. She has already derailed it. Look, Benny, if by chance she stays on this case is over. And even if she had the magnanimity to remove herself, which she doesn't, she needs to be disbarred and this case has to be thrown out because no one can have faith in the conviction of the courtroom or a presumption of, no one can have confidence in the courtroom proceedings based on this conduct. She showed the world her intention and she went on stage on the witness stand and lied. Is someone going to look into that? Also, what about the federally funded taxpayer dollars that went to the Fulton County DA's office, which has been utilized to prosecute Donald Trump? Was some of that money paid to Mr. Wade? Did some of that money go into their Love Boat cruises and other junkets? Did it go to pay for their trips to D.C. and lavish dinners when they met with the White House counsel's office to prepare this indictment? That is all a tax fraud conspiracy in the making. Anyone looking at that? I mean, I know the answer, but they would be if we were prosecuting Joe Biden.
Kash, obviously, you're the audience is a massive fan of you. They know your work. But for those of you who may not be familiar with Kash, I mean, he did work at the White House. He did work for Donald Trump. There is a really bad photo of him walking off Marine One with the bags. So Kash knows about the White House. So could you tell me, do the White House visitor logs lie? Do they fabricate White House visitor logs? Because Fani Willis yesterday swore under oath she's never been in the White House. Yet, lo and behold, we have her name on the White House visitor logs. So, Kash, can you explain, how did that happen?
I can't, unless she got in bed with Secret Service, colloquially, that's what she sleeps around, and somehow, conned the visitor logs, got Secret Service to lie, put her name down when she wasn't there, and then just, said whatever. It's impossible. The only thing that happens at the White House, at Joe Biden's White House, is with the visitor logs is they don't put down all the people that visit the White House, even though they're supposed to. They omit that information. So I don't know whether she was there with Willis or the other guy or not. To me, it doesn't matter. They coordinated their trips to Washington, D.C. to work with the Biden administration and his lawyers, our government-funded, taxpayer-paid-for lawyers, to prosecute Donald Trump. They literally sat down with state prosecutors and talked about a pending indictment of their political opponent. This, I mind you, with all the hypocrites blaring out there that Vladimir Putin in Russia jails his political opponents. I'm not justifying his conduct, but why don't we look right here in America and look at how many political opponents have been indicted by this Biden administration?
Kash, we have so many topics to cover with you. I know that you have a tight time frame, so I must ask the questions about the bombshell Russiagate reporting that has happened this week, exposing obviously the CIA plot to ask the Five Eyes to bump into Trump campaign representatives. I know for a fact, you don't have to say it. I know for a fact you already knew all of this. I know that you've already known all of this. And that all of this information is bundled up inside of a binder, and maybe that's why the Mar-a-Lago raid went down. And it's just spiraling out of control, that story. Can you give me your thoughts on where that story is headed? Because it does seem to be the largest political scandal of our lifetimes.
Yeah, and if you give me a little bandwidth here to lay this out. Look, I'm very
Please.
happy that this is in the news, and I'm very happy that there's reporting on it. But I want to remind the audience what the fake news media ignored for 6 years. When Devin Nunes and I ran the Russiagate investigation, we put these findings in a 350-page report, which was publicized. We put the findings out that Hillary Clinton was the preferred candidate of Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation. Based on our investigation, we showed that John Brennan and company weaponized the system of intelligence to prosecute and target Trump surrogates. We named them. And now we're starting to see more information on those two lines of effort, which I think is fantastic. But I also think we need to put down a marker and make sure we don't take the bait from the FBI that conjured up the Russiagate hoax to begin with. The binder in question was the one that we compiled at the end of the Trump administration that President Trump declassified. That binder is sitting at the Department of Justice. Then the bean counters and librarians at NARA have stated publicly that binder is at the Department of Justice. And that binder does contain a lot of information in the underlying documentations about Russiagate that Devin Nunes and I weren't able to get declassified because we ran into the buzzsaw that was Rod Rosenstein, Gina Haspel, and Chris Wray. And why do I bring up Gina Haspel again? I'll get there in a second. The second big piece of this story is we, the Russiagate team, did a 2,000 man-hour report and investigation into John Brennan's ICA. The report that John Brennan was ordered by Obama to produce to justify the unlawful targeting of Trump surrogates, we did another report. Think of it as the Nunes memo on the Steele dossier in the FBI. There is another 17-page report sitting in a SCIF in a safe at the CIA for the last 4 or 5, however many years it is, that we produced. Now, we in the Trump administration tried to get that declassified. And the person that blocked its release then and to this day is Gina Haspel. What is in that report shows the dereliction of duty and the politicization of John Brennan's ICA. We've been trying to get it out forever. And why is Gina Haspel at the epicenter of all of this? She was London station chief in 2016. What does that mean? What does that matter? In 2016, John Brennan was ordered and went out and took the intelligence community and said, we are going to target Donald Trump's surrogates with the CIA, NSA, and our partners overseas. So what does that mean? Gina Haspel, as the London station chief, by law has to authorize offensive operations in the United Kingdom because she's what we call the number one DNI rep, the number one Office of Director of National Intelligence Representative. Those operations, which we reported about from our Russiagate findings, the Halper thing, the barroom thing, all that nonsense, and much others, could not have occurred unless she authorized them. She did that. She would later become Trump's CIA director. She would later become the individual that blocked the release of our ICA report on John Brennan's bogus ICA. People need to start asking questions why that is and why Congress hasn't called her to testify. And here's another doozy for you and your audience. Do you know where Gina Haspel works today and has for the last 3 years? At Chris Wray's law firm as the National Security Advisor, where Rod Rosenstein and Sally Yates are named law partners. Rod Rosenstein, the same guy who signed the bogus FISA warrant against Donald Trump, which was rescinded as a result of our Russiagate investigation and nullified by the FISC, these people are making tens of millions of dollars together. Do you think these government gangsters are running in a coincidence circle? No, they have orchestrated this thing from jump, and they have orchestrated the cover-up. And I'm very happy, and people need to make sure I'm not denigrating the work of Schellenberger and Taibbi and anyone else who has the gall to put this out there. I just want to make sure that the mainstream media doesn't conflate what the efforts of these gentlemen are and put out the facts so that they don't come back later and say, oh, you guys conflated these two things and got the reporting wrong, so your entire article is garbage. We need to stay above board on this stuff, and we need to not make assertions that we don't know are true in terms of what the FBI did and didn't do based on this reporting.
Cash, I have a single prayer. Okay, I believe in the power of prayer, Cash. Please advise Donald Trump to not hire people like Rosenstein, Gina Haspel, and all the rest. Term 2. Please, I beg you. I know you have the president's ear day and night. I beg of you, staff people with more like Cash, actually, and Rick Grinnell, and less like Gina Haspel.
And maybe Benny Johnson.
I'll take it. People say press secretary. Come on, baby. We'll do a whole press secretary responding to the press corps with memes. I assure you, it will be the most watched press
it'll be awesome.
conference ever. God bless you, Cash. Thank you so much. If you wish to fight the government gangsters that Cash is talking about, and there's too much to unpack here, please let's get rebooked so that you can break all of this down. We should do like an entire show. I really want you to like put meat on the bone here so that we can understand this.
I'll make it a deal. You get your audience to buy Government Gangsters, the book. I'll come back on and do an hour-long episode.
Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. This is the Government Gangsters book at governmentgangsters.com. Kash Patel, support the people who are fighting for you. And Kash Patel obviously is one of the best out there. They are sending their best. They're sending cash. Thank you, Cash.
Thank you.